Hey, what's up and hello. This is everybody's second favorite professor coming at you live on tape with another Animate video. So today we're going to be working on lesson 3, which covers custom paths. So before we did basic motion left to right, we did clipping masks. And now we're going to work on custom paths. So making a new scene, again, starting with the same document, we're using the same assets but using a separate scene. So now we're going to do the same thing as before, add 120 frames worth of space, which is 10 seconds. So keyboard shortcut F5. I'm going to drag out my first letter. So with that being said, the first letter is going to be A. Now when we go to insert, create classic tween, we again have it at layer 1, frame 1. So if we were to start it off to the left and we wanted to transition onto the stage across 3 seconds to the center, it's going to be at a linear path, meaning a straight line. No matter where we put it at the beginning, it's always going to be a straight line to the end point. So if we want a custom path, meaning a non-linear line, we're going to make a new layer. We're going to label this layer path. So now we want to draw out a path using the pen tool, or you could use the classic brush tool. So if you're using the brush tool, we simply click on the properties, make sure we have the fill set to color, doesn't matter. The size of it can be smaller. So we're going to draw out a custom path like so. Now if you want something more simple, you can simply draw out a shorter line. So now we have the path set, where now it just registers as a line or a shape, not a path. So we're going to right click on the layer, control left click for max. We're going to make it a guide layer. When you make a layer a guide layer, you should see a little T-square icon appear where the paper one once was. Now we want to click on our layer 1. We're going to double click on it and call it A. We're going to pull it up into the right so that it clips underneath. You see the little black line with the white dot. Now, once you place it under, the T-square will then convert to a dotted arc with the square at the bottom. That's how you know that a path layer is active, meaning the A letter is going to be following whatever path is drawn on this layer. So I'm going to click on my end point here. Now I want it to end at the end of it, so I'm going to put it here. So now you can see that whenever you're on a path layer, no matter where you put it, it's automatically going to snap. So if we try to drag it here and let it go, it's going to automatically snap back to somewhere along that line. So naturally, this endpoint, you want it to be set to here. And then the beginning is going to be here. So that when you play it, it's going to follow the path. Now, when you do an actual preview, you will not see the path. So I'm going to actually go up to my scenes. Now, when you are playing it, meaning when you press Control Enter to preview what it actually looks like, it's going to play in order of the scenes. So I'm going to show you what it means. So I'm going to press Control Return, and it's going to first play scene 1, and then it's going to jump over to scene 2, and then it's going to jump over to scene 3. So if you want to say preview this temporarily first, we can simply drag up scene 4 to above scene 1, and when we preview it, the first scene is going to play. Now, as you can see, when you actually play it, even though you see it on the timeline, you don't see it when it actually previews. You don't see the line, the path. It's invisible once it actually is exported as a video. So now in order to do a custom path on multiple layers, it's the same step. I'm gonna make 2 new layers. It's the same step to make more than one. I'm gonna make 2 new layers. Remembering that when you're dealing with a custom path, it always has to be 2 layers. One layer is for the object, the other layer is for the actual path itself. So I'm gonna drag out my letter. I'm gonna insert classic tween, and then I'm gonna click on here. I'm gonna use the pen tool this time to draw out a custom path. Now the pen tool functions exactly how it does in Illustrator and Photoshop. It makes points. So I'm gonna say click here at the top. I'm gonna drag this around here. So I'm gonna end it here. So now I'm gonna right click on this, guide layer, click on my L layer and pull it up and to the right so it snaps, so that then the L is gonna be starting off the scene at the top. And then the same 3 seconds is going to transition from the top down to here. So when you preview it, control return, it follows a custom path. Now, if you wanted to animate this going off the scene, you're going to have to either continue the path or end the path. So say if you want these letters to then just animate in on a straight line, because the path is still active, meaning this path layer on both ones extends to 10 seconds. So no matter what, this layer, the A and L layer, are locked into this path. We can end this layer by simply clicking on the same keyframe here and then going to F6 on both path layers to insert a keyframe. Now we can click and highlight across the rest of the timeline and right click and go to remove frames. So I'm gonna highlight here up until this keyframe and then remove frames. So now that tells the program that the path is going to end here. But as you can see, the A and L still exist. So if we were to transition these off, so again, they're going to stay static for 1 second. So I'm going to hit F6 manually on both layers. And then at 6 seconds, I'm going to drag them off the stage. So when you preview it, control return, they both animate in on custom paths, and then they both end on the standard left to right path. So that's how you create a custom path, and that's how you unlink the path once you're done with it, or you would need to continue it. So for example, I'm going to do another letter, the E. I'm going to drag out the letter here. So now we can tell it's going to be wanted to end here. So we want them both to be lined up properly. So then on this layer, I'm going to again use the pen tool, but I want to use it so that it's going to do a loop-to-loop, and it's going to end here, but it's also going to continue off the stage. So I'm going to right click, make it a guide layer, click on the E, again pull it up and to the right to lock it in place. I'm going to then insert a classic tween on the E layer, and then I'm going to start it off in the top left, and then it's going to do the same path. It's going to end here, but it's going to end in the middle of the path. So it's not ending on the path, it's ending in the center of the path. So then it's going to stay static, F6, and then the same amount of time it takes, it's going to then transition off. Remember that it's still locked on the layer. So when you preview it, control return, The E comes in, and then the E follows the path, but the other letters are unlinked. So that's two ways of doing it. You must either continue the path all the way through the transition, meaning off the stage, or you must unlink it to then free the letters to move how you would like them to. So doing it one more time for the last letter. Again, making sure it's lined up, so I'm going to end them both here. And then using the pen, actually using the brush tool this time, I'm going to, again, draw a unique shape or path that's going to end here and then continue on and off the stage here. So now right-click, Guide Layer, Snap to, Insert, Create Classic Tween. So for the X, it's going to start at the bottom, and then it's going to end here with the rest of them. Stay static for 1 second, insert keyframe F6, and then continue it on off to the end of the frame. So when you preview it, Control Return, it's going to follow the path. So now with the X, as you can see, it followed this unique path instead of going standard around. That was because we used the brush tool. Because the brush tool is just a tool itself, it doesn't have points of paths. Because this line intersects, the program automatically assumes that it's going to follow a unique path. If you're going to have a path that intersects with itself, you must use the pen tool versus using the brush. And that concludes the tutorial on how to do a custom path. Please stay tuned for the next lesson, which will be covering shape tweens.